Let's convert ourselves a mounted Aragorn. I've got in front of me one of the best characters in the Middle-earth strategy battle game. It's of course Aragorn, Strider. One of my favourite poses, actually. This one, I think it's the first pose of Aragorn, looking like he's kind of parting the waves with his sword on Weathertop. So fantastic little pose. But as you probably are aware, this guy gets so much better when he's on one of these little guys. So I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna just chop him off and stick him on there. But what I am gonna do is I'm gonna convert up a mounted Aragorn with this video. All you need is one Rider of Rohan. I'm using one that's broken, so we'll chop him to pieces. And also you'll need an Aragorn from the plastic Fellowship of the Ring set. So I've got one here. He's got lost his arm. I think it's this somewhere here. What I'm going to do, I'm going to chop him up with a WARHAMMER arm, which is here. So this is a little different as an arm, because rather than him swinging wildly in this pose like this, which kind of is a weird pose for a horse, I'm going to have him doing this on the horse, and I'm going to somehow use, we'll work it out when I get there, I'm going to use this one to look like he's holding the reins. So that's what I'm going to do in the video. Let's just see how it goes. Let's get started chopping things up. So be careful, obviously, with all these things. But I'm going to simply use a pair of pliers and chop as close as I can around the base. So this is all I'm going to do. Flat side up. I'm going to use a better pair of pliers. These ones are a bit better. I'm going to do that, and then we're going to just chop away and just kind of be indiscriminate here, really. A lot of this is going to be green stuff, so we're going to need some green stuff. So if you don't have any, pause the video, add to your watch later list, and do it later. So as you can see, you could do this with a saw. I don't have a saw. If you do, look at you. But it's quite simple. You just kind of work your way in. That's probably why all my pliers are so blunt, but there you go. So we lost one leg, so I'm just going to chop him off at the legs there. And then what we're going to do is going to slowly sort of shave away at this, but crucially leave that cloak there. So we're going to have a bit of cloak sticking out the back. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do all this and shave it away, and then I'll come back after I've done all this. Just done exactly the same now with the Rider of Rohan. So just literally plying away with a good pair of clippers, and you know, you don't have to be particularly smooth with it. Again, all of this is going to be covered over. So so after a little bit of break, done that, and then now we just sort of dry fit these guys. So at the moment that looks absolutely horrendous, right? Oh God, it does. It looks awful, doesn't it? But if we line them up, hopefully we're going to get something that looks relatively decent. You can see that's just because of the slope. So there's a slope on that. So as soon as that's straight, we should be okay. So this is going to be tricky, but it'll be okay. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to carry on cutting. I'm going to do that. Try and cut it into a straight line so it's down here. And then I'm going to come back after I've done that. Squaring it off, see how it's getting quite square now? That's not bad, is it? It's getting there. Right, keep going. Yeah, and then I think I might just trim a bit of this off as well, this waist here. The waist of the waist. And then none of that's going to get in the way either. because obviously you're not going to see any of that stuff anyway, so it doesn't really matter if it's moulded or not. There we go. Okay, so we're looking okay. Right, so what I'm going to do with that, I'm going to get a file, and I'm just going to square it off a bit more. Just kind of just work it away till it's a bit smoother. So I've chosen these models because Riders of Rohan absolutely dirt cheap to pick up these days because of the Pelennor Fields box set, which is fantastic. And also the plastic Aragorns are also pretty easy to come hold of second hand. I realise 30 quid for a whole Fellowship of the Ring box set to chop up Aragorn is expensive, but it used to be in the Mines of Moria box set, which was one of the previous mass release boxes, so you'll find it actually fairly easy to come by plastic Aragorns on eBay and Facebook trading sites and stuff. So if you just put a bit of a request out on Facebook trade groups, or have a search on there, or have a look on eBay for army sets, you know, people selling, just search Lord of the Rings army, and you'll be amazed at how cheap you can get some of these guys. There's particular Aragorn and the rest of the Fellowship, because lots of people wanted one of that. You know, it's the sort of, oh my, I just scraped Aragorn's nose off. Thankfully, no. It's just one of those things that you almost always want when you first get into the game. Is yourself an Aragorn. So, let's have a look at this now. How's that looking? That's looking pretty good. So, now what I've realised, so the match is okay, but this bit of the cloak is there. So, just going to work away through that with some clippers, and because actually, look, this cloak is going to hang over the back anyway, so if I just work my way through that with a pair of clippers, kind of trim off the back, then hopefully I might be getting somewhere. So that's what I'm going to do, just indiscriminately chip away with a pair of clippers. That's looking a bit flatter. Let's try Aragorn on there now. Closer. She's a bit far forward, so as you can see, that looks a bit funky right at the moment. Again, it's all that stuff. So if I just, what I'm going to do, I'm going to just sit in like that and just cut away at the back. So let's just keep it nice and straight, and then just chip away at the back portion there. And there we go. Look, that's got the cut in. So now we've got a nice clean cut straight off in one go. Perfect. I'm probably going to just trim that a bit more as well. There we go. So we're looking. Oh, that's looking alright. Look at that. That's not bad, actually. I think we're pretty much there. Because that is a pretty snug fit. So, what I'm going to do now, you can see that is a pretty snug fit. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to use plastic glue to stick the two together, like that, and then we'll sit it on the horse, and we'll see what we can do to try and recreate the shoes, or Aragorn's boots, because these are not quite right. I might be able to, in fact, I think that's probably what I'm going to do. I might be able to chop them off or something. We'll see what happens. Right. So there we go. We've got what looks like a kind of Aragorn. It's not amazing, obviously, yet. It'll need some detailing, and the legs are a lot thinner than Aragorn's legs look, a little bit less muscular, but that's fine. So again, beginner assembly. I'm no pro converter, so just bear that in mind throughout. Oh gosh, just took a tumble off the cliff. So with our little Aragorn, what we're going to do. So he's not completely dry. I've just literally just applied the glue. But what we're going to do is we're going to put Boromir's arm on, because as I mentioned, the other one isn't particularly good for this mode. So I'm going to just chop this little knob out of there, because this little thing, because I think it probably would fit, but this is an old model, and Aragorn's thingy is filled up with some old joints. So let's just chop away at that while the rest of this is drying, and then in a bit we'll get some green stuff on it. So that's what I'm going to do first. We're just going to literally just chop into this. This is what's great about, again, I've said it a couple of times now, plastic glue is really great for covering up the things. I'm just going to scrape this with my knife. This is exactly how I cut myself, but if you've got one of those scrapers, go with that. But this is the sort of thing I'm be careful with. But yeah, if you're using plastic glue, they can be very forgiving of sort of gaps and things like that, because it kind of, although it takes away the detail by smushing all of the joints together, it's really quite good at hiding any gaps. So it's not a bad thing to work with. You could do it all with super glue, but I like plastic glue. Plastic because, well, I mean, it's right there in the name, isn't it? It's designed for it, but it's not always the best choice for some things. But for this, when you're doing a bit of a basic conversion, I like it. So that's what I'm going to do. Put plastic glue on there. Just get rid of that little plastic glue bogey on there, and then not too much, because otherwise it'll be too hard, too sort of moist. But about that much. About that much there, so just a little bit. If you can see that, there's a little globule. So it's sort of fairly thick layer, but not too much. Then you're just going to smush that on there. This looks just awful. The gap there, it looks terrible. It just looks really weird. So so this is the best way of working out what to do with this, is get the model you're trying to recreate. So if you see, you've got the cloak, so that's fine. We've got a cloak, we've got the bow, we've got everything else on the back. That looks fine. But what we're missing is this bit, the sort of, I don't know what you call it, the jerkin, the skirt. Let's just call it the skirt. So that's what I'm going to be working on now. So as you can see, using some tools, I've got a few different tools here. I've picked up this set for about £8-9 quid, and they're pretty good. We've got some different scrapey pokey tools, different sizes and shapes. These are from Army Painter if you're interested. They've all got different sort of palette knives. I think this is exactly the same twice actually. Very little difference in those, bigger and smaller. And they've got this nice pokey one that's much sharper, and got this useful tool. So all I'm going to do is get a bit of green stuff, epoxy resin, whatever you want to call it. You can get this for dirt cheap on the internet, and just get a bit of water on a flat bit, and then I just mix it up a bit.
So I mould together some green stuff, that's epoxy resin, then make a flat bit of material, just poking it square. Just flattening it down on my cutting board, and with poking and prodding and manipulation using damp tools, I just shape it into a skirt shape.
So we return after I've done some detailing in the cloak, and actually I'm kind of happy with it. But I've realised that this bit is getting in the way. So as you can see there, it just looks weird, doesn't it? It just looks so weird. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to chop it off. So let's see how this works. I've got the green stuff there, obviously, so I'm just going to be quite careful. Just go down, off the legs go. So we'll work out a way around that, I'm sure. But right, okay. Let's see what happens. Let's carry on doing this, and I'll work out a fix. There she blows. Right, so she's off. Okay, so we've lost 2 legs now. But it's okay, because I kept the original legs. So let's see if we can work them into it somehow. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to carve off the below the knee bit. So let's just move this onto the table a bit better. And then, there we go. So we should have 2 nice boots. And actually there should be a better scale, I won't have to do any sculpting either. So if I just clip them off the bottom base of the shoe, careful not to flick them too far into the sky, you did good. So, there we go, so that one, so we'll just trim it flat as well. And then I think that's it. This may end up looking better than I originally planned. So if I stick that bad boy there, that'll look alright, won't it? So that's what I'm going to do. I'll stick them both there and I'll come back after I've glued it in, and then we might need to do a bit more green stuffing. So I've finished putting the waist on, and actually I think I've done a decent enough job. I need to finish off the material here. It still looks a bit, well, it looks a bit crap. Look, it's flowing a bit too much. This side looks a bit better. But I've just sort of stuck the things on, and then they just needed an extra little bit in the middle of the legs there, just to give the right bend there. I mean, he looks like he's raising off the horse a little bit, as if he's kind of jumping or something like that, but that's fine. So the only thing left, really, other than sorting out how, this is a bit overly done, I might just have a quick go while you're here. All I'm doing basically is just flattening a bit here, just to give it a little less dynamism, I suppose, because it just looks that little bit too fake and too textured. So just want to smooth that down a little bit so that we've got, and then pick it up in the bottom here. So what I'm doing is trying to add some frills, as it were, so it's quite clearly material flowing. And then if I, where those little triangles are, I'm just trying to add a little bit of flow, not too much, just so that it looks like, you know, they're actually kind of together. But then I'm not very good at this, so I'm just sort of, there we go, dividing it up into that. That looks a bit better, I don't know. And then smoothing them off, so that looks like it's kind of pleated a little, rather than just looking like, you know, wood or something like that, which, like wood grain, you don't want that. You don't want Aragorn's kilt, skirt, whatever you want to call it, looking like wood. So there you go, that looks alright. And then the same on this side, I'll just have a quick finish off while I'm here. I mean, it's not perfect, but there you go. That's the general gist. So what I'm going to do, so I've got just got the thingy to do now, the reins, and all I'm going to do is going to get a dib dab of PVA glue, PVA super glue onto the hand here. So just get a nice little drop there, nice little drop on the thingy. Nice technical terms again, and I'm just going to sort of try, forgive me for being off camera slightly, just get a little bit of it on there and then hook it round. So if I use this pokey tool, it should make it look a bit more attached. Then just negotiate this into the right place. A result, actually. So it's got a little bit of a tail on it at the moment, but as you can see, I've kind of divided the string. This was model boat rigging, and I've just divided it into kind of half, basically, and I think it looks quite dynamic, actually, because we've got, although it looks a little frayed, because it's imagining a sort of Rohan Rider's mount, I think that works relatively well. So I just needed to be careful that I've redefined some of these bits and smooth them off a bit because of handling it, basically. So there we go. So I'll do all that, make sure once I've handled it all that it's all smoothened off, and then we're good to go. And then I think it'll be ready for a layer of paint after it's got a rock on the base.
And there you have it, mounted Aragorn. A perfect cheap way of making this model, which is now only available alongside Legolas and Gimli on a horse, which is a model you're not even allowed to use in a match play game for the pleasure of £20 for the both of them. So I hope you've enjoyed this and gave you some inspiration on a basic conversion. It's certainly no masterpiece, but it is definitely doable. Never be afraid of giving it a go. Thanks for watching.